with you how to crochet a boho crop top. Now this video is actually a remake of one that I did in 2017, and that one's pretty bad. So do not go watch that one unless you're just curious about how much of a train wreck that was. I'll also leave it linked in the description box below, along with some beginner-friendly tutorials. If you are completely new to crochet, please go ahead and check those out first and then come back to this one. So for this project, I'm using 100% acrylic white yarn that I got from Amazon. If you would like to use the exact same yarn that I am, I will leave it linked via my affiliate links in the description box below. And of course, you could use whatever color that you like. I just chose white because I have a lot of white yarn, and it goes along with everything. I am also using a size 5mm hook, and if you want to get the same hook that I'm using, I will also link it in the description box below via my Amazon affiliate links. But with that, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that we're going to do is grab our yarn, create a slip knot, and then put our hook through the loop that we made, and then we're going to chain 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now what we're making right now is the cup, and if you want a detailed video, very beginner friendly video of how to make the cup, because this tutorial is too fast for you, I will also leave that tutorial in the description box below. So lots of links in the tutorial. If you have any issues, it's probably linked in the description box below. But yes, we are currently making the cup. So after you chain 12, you're going to go back on the chain, and you're going to go back on it with a single crochet. And if you're unfamiliar with what a single crochet is, or just need a reminder, it is through the stitch, yarn over, back through the stitch, yarn over, and then through the 2 loops left on your hook. So through the stitch, then yarn over, then back through the stitch, then yarn over, then through the 2 loops that were left on your stitch. And that is a single crochet. So you're just going to single crochet your way down the project as normal, and then once you reach the end, you're going to, hold on, let me just reach the end here. Okay, make sure you go into the very last stitch of the row, and this is what the project looks like, and then you're going to chain 1, flip the project over, then go into the very first stitch of the new row, and then single crochet your way up the project. So it's a normal horizontal project up until you finish this row, and then I'll show you what the difference is. So just single crochet your way up this row right here, and also make sure that you go into the very last stitch of the row. So once you reach the very last stitch of the row, the project should look like this, right? Just 2 rows of single crochet. But now, instead of working horizontally, we're going to flip the project like this and start working vertically. So we're just going to start making our single crochets this way to make a triangle cup. Now to make it triangular, we need to actually make a 3rd point. So these 2 are points, and then this one needs to be a point. So we're going to find this middle stitch right here. There's no specific spot, just find whatever middle stitch you think it is. And you're going to make 3 single crochets inside of this middle stitch. So that's 1, 2, and 3. So you're always going to be making 3 single crochets inside of the middle stitch at the top of your cup. And there will always be a middle stitch because you're making 3, and because 3 is not a number, there is always a middle. So that's where you'll be making your 3 single crochets from now on, and then you're just going to single crochet your way down as normal, chain 1, flip the project over, make sure you go into the very first stitch of the new row, and then single crochet your way back up until you get to the middle stitch. And when you get to the middle stitch, you're going to remember crochet 3 single crochets inside that 1 middle stitch, and then crochet your way down using single crochet, chain 1, flip the project over, single crochet your way up to the middle stitch, then single crochet 3, and so on and so forth, and you'll see that your project will start getting bigger and bigger. And this is what it looks like after a couple rows. It's going to get wider and wider and taller and taller. And again, all I did from this point after crocheting 3 single crochets inside of that one middle stitch at the point, I just went down the row using a single crochet. So just 1 single crochet into every stitch as you normally would any other project, and you're just going to make your way down the cup till you get to the bottom. And once you reach the bottom, you're going to make sure that 1, you go into the very last stitch of the row, and 2, that you chain 1 before you flip it over. So I'm about to reach the very last stitch of the row. So this is the very last stitch of the row. I'm gonna go into it. I'm going to make my last single crochet of the row. Then I'm going to chain 1, flip the project over, then go into the very first stitch of the new row, and then continue with my next row of single crochet until I reach the top. And then once I reach the top, again, I'm going to make those 3 single crochets inside of that 1 middle stitch. And that should start to make this triangular shape. And again, it's going to start getting wider and wider as you continue with the rows. So I'm just going to keep with that pattern, and then I will show you what it looks like in the end. And again, if this is too fast for you, or if you're confused and you need more details, I do have a beginner-friendly version of how to crochet a cup linked in the description box below, so you can go ahead and watch that and then come back to this, and you'll be perfectly set. So let me just show you. Once I get up to here, I'm going to, this is the middle stitch, you could tell because it's like the highest point of the entire cup. So at this highest point right here in the middle, we're going to make 3 single crochets inside of that 1 stitch. So 1, 2, go into that same stitch, and 3. And that's just going to help build this point so it can continue to be a triangle. So as you keep going, you're just going to get wider and wider. And the way you know that you're going to be done with this cup is when you put it against yourself and you like the coverage. So everyone's is going to be a different size, of course, because we're all different sizes. And again, you'll know when you're done once you put the project against yourself and you're happy with the way that it fits you. So just keep going until that point. And this is what it looks like after more and more rows of that same pattern. Again, just going up and down and up and down and up and down, and it'll eventually build to a shape like this. Now again, all you need to do is literally just put it against yourself, and once you like the coverage, then that's when you know that you're done, and then you could cut the yarn from the yarn ball and do that entire process all over again, because you're going to need 2 of these. So make sure that they're the same size. And once you've made both of them, so again, you just repeat the same exact thing that you did for the first one, then you can attach them both. So just grab them, line them up where you want them to be attached to, then slip stitch through both of them, like so, and voila, now they are attached. Woo! So from here, we're going to start working on the bottom portion of the top, so this part right here. So you're going to choose one side, and you're actually going to slip stitch your way over to either side. And then once we get to one side, we're going to extend it so that we can make the pattern on the bottom. So again, from here, you're going to choose whichever side, and you're going to just slip stitch all along the bottom of one side of the cup. Now there's not really going to be any specific areas where you can slip stitch into, so you just kind of have to figure it out. Like, you just put your hook through any stitch that you think it will fit in, and then you just slip stitch your way over. I am someone who hates detaching the yarn from the yarn ball, and I avoid it as much as possible just because I don't like having to tie knots whenever I am making a project. But if you don't mind doing that, then go ahead and just detach it from here and then reattach it here. But if you have slip stitched your way over, this is what it should look like. And then once you get to the edge of one of the cups, Then you're going to chain however many chains you need to reach from this point to this point on your body. So for me, it's 15 chains, and I figure that out through trial and error, as you should do for your body. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So that's how many I need for it to wrap around that area of my body. But of course, every body is different, so just try to figure out how many you need in order to cover from that point to that point on your body, and then you're going to go back on that chain with a single crochet. So now we're going to make our first row of single crochet. So we're going to go all along the chain that we just created towards the cups. So just a single crochet into every single chain that we just chained. Yeah. And once we get to the cup, we're actually just going to continue making that row of single crochet just on top of the cup this time. So I have reached the end of the chain I just created, and now I'm going to crochet at the bottom of the cup here. And again, there's not really going to be any particular stitches you can go into, so you just kind of have to find spots and then single crochet into them. So yeah, from here you're going to single crochet all along the bottom of this cup, through the center, the bottom of the second cup to this side, where you're going to chain the same number of chains that you chained on this side to make it even. And again, that for me it was 15, but for you it could be something different, so just go off of your body and your preferences. So if you want it to be longer, then you make it longer. If you want it to be shorter, then you can make it shorter than 15 chains. Totally up to you. But yeah, again, from here I'm just going to do a row of single crochet until I get to the other side. So I will meet you on the other side. Okay, so I've made it to the other side, and this is what the project looks like so far. So I single crocheted from here all along the bottom of the cups to the other side, where I'm going to chain 15 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And then from here I'm going to do one more row of single crochet all along the bottom of the cups, and then we're going to start the actual pattern, like the Shelly pattern, or I don't really know what to call it. The first time I ever made this top, I called it the Shelly because the pattern has like shells in it, kind of, so I'm just gonna say the shell pattern. So anyway, yeah, from here you're going to single crochet your way all along the bottom of the cups, and then we're going to start the shell pattern. So yeah, just go ahead and continue single crocheting all along, so you get to the other side, and then I will meet you there. Okay, so now that I've reached the end of the row yet again, this is what the project looks like. So from the bottom. And now we're going to start the actual pattern. So from the edge of one side, we're going to chain not just one, but 3 chains. So 1, 2, 3. And then from here, we're going to skip that first stitch and go into the second stitch. And we're going to create a double crochet. Now a double crochet is yarn over through the stitch, yarn over back through the stitch, then yarn over through 2 loops, and then yarn over through the last 2 loops. So that's what a double crochet is, and you'll have a weird looking shape like this, but it's going to make sense later. So from here, we're actually going to chain 1, then we're going to skip 2 stitches and go into that third stitch with a double crochet, and we're going to make 3 double crochets in a row. So that was 1. Then we're going to go into a next stitch and make another double crochet, 2, and then we're going to go into another stitch and make 1 last double crochet, so it's a total of 3 double crochets in a row. And then from here we're going to chain 1, skip 2 stitches, go into that third stitch, and we're going to make an open shell stitch. So to make that, we're going to make a double crochet, and then we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to go back into that same stitch with another double crochet. So just make that double crochet, and just like that, you've made what I call, I don't know if it's actually called that, but an open shell stitch. So this is going to be kind of what you're going to use to make the shell itself. And I don't want to confuse you too much, so yeah, that's pretty much the pattern actually. Just like 3 double crochets and an open shell stitch, 3 double crochets and an open shell stitch. But let's go ahead and do that again. So from here you're going to chain 1, then you're going to skip 2 stitches, go into that 3rd stitch, and make 3 double crochets in a row. So 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, 3 double crochet, all consecutively. And then from here you're going to chain 1, then you're going to skip 2 stitches, go into that 3rd stitch, and make an open shell stitch, which is again 1 double crochet followed by 3 chains, followed by another double crochet inside of the same stitch, and voila, an open shell stitch. And this is what the pattern looks like so far. So you're just going to continue to do that all the way along the bottom of the cups here until you reach the end, and then I'll show you what to do at the end because sometimes it can be complicated. So I'm just going to make my 3 consecutive double crochets, going to chain 1, skip 2 stitches, go into that 3rd stitch, make my open shell stitch comprised of 1 double crochet, 3 chains, and then another double crochet inside of the same exact stitch. Then from here I'm going to chain 1, skip 2 stitches, then go into that 3rd stitch and make 3 consecutive double crochets, and 3, then chain 1, skip 2 stitches, go into that 3rd stitch and make my open shell stitch. So double crochet, chain 3, and then another double crochet inside of the same stitch, chain 1, skip 2 stitches, then 3 consecutive double crochets, 2 and 3, and then chain 1, skip 2 stitches, then create an open shell stitch, double crochet, 3 chains, then double crochet inside of the same stitch, chain 1, skip 2 stitches, go into the 3rd stitch, 3 consecutive double crochets, and so on and so forth until you reach the end. So I will go ahead and meet you at the end. So now I am at the end of the row and ended off with an open shell stitch. So next for me would be the 3 consecutive double crochets, but I only have room for 2 double crochets, so I'm only going to make 2 double crochets. Now if you're wondering if you ended off with the 3 double crochets and then you don't really have room to make the open shell stitch, I would suggest that you just skip the 2 stitches and then make 1 double crochet at the end of the row. Because if you end off on an open shell stitch, it is going to kind of like expand really weird. So I would suggest that you just end off on a double crochet to make the edges nice and clean. So from here, for me, I'm going to skip my 2 stitches, go into the next 2 stitches with my double crochets, and then from here I'm just going to continue the pattern with the next row. So from here I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, then I'm going to create a double crochet on top of this double crochet. So just make a double crochet right here, and then I'm going to chain 1, then go into the open shell stitch and create a shell. And to create the shell, you're actually going to create 7 double crochets inside of the opening of this shell. So from here, I'm going to again just make 7 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, which seems like a lot, but it's going to fill up the entire open shell stitch with this really pretty shell, and then from here we're going to chain 1, then head on over to the 3 double crochets, go to that middle double crochet, and then create a double crochet on top of that. So just like this. And then from here we're going to chain 1, then reach on over to the next open shell stitch, and we're going to make another 7 double crochets inside of that one opening. So that's 1, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And this is what the project looks like after you've completed your 7 double crochets inside of your open shell stitch, and that's essentially what the pattern is. So from here we're going to chain 1, reach on over to your 3 consecutive double crochets, and then in that middle double crochet we're going to create another double crochet on top of that, and then from here we're going to chain 1, then head over to the open shell stitch and create 7 double crochets inside of that one opening. And again, just continue with the pattern after that, and I'll show you what it looks like once I have reached the end of the row. So you're just going to continue doing that all along the row here, and I will meet you at the end. Okay, so I'm at the end of my row here, and I just want to show you how I finish it off. So I have made my 1 double crochet on top of my previous rows of double crochet. I chained 1, and now I'm going to go into this like little half open shell stitch that I made when we first started this pattern. So from here I'm going to only crochet 4 double crochets, so the shell isn't humongous since it is only half of an open shell stitch. That was 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, and 3 double crochets. So I'm going to make my 4th one, and then I'm going to end the row with that 4th double crochet, kind of like a half shell stitch right here. Then from here I'm going to start my next row by first chaining 3, 1, 2, 3, flipping the project over. And then we're going to go into the kind of like the middle of the shell that we just created, and we're going to make 1 double crochet. So just make 1 double crochet on top of that shell that you just created, kind of just towards the middle. And then from here we're going to chain 1, reach on over to that single double crochet or that lone double crochet, and we're going to make an open shell stitch on top of that. So we're going to make a double crochet, then we're going to chain 3, 2, 3, and then we're going to make another double crochet inside of that same exact stitch. So every time you come across one of those lone double crochets from the previous row, you're going to make an open shell stitch. And then from here you're going to chain 1, and then you're going to make those 3 consecutive double crochets in the middle of your shell stitches. So you're going to reach on over, you're going to go 1 double crochet, then 2 double crochet, and the 3rd double crochet on top of those shells that you created in the previous row. So from here you're going to chain 1, then head over to that lone double crochet and make an open shell stitch on top of it. So you're going to make 1 double crochet, then chain 3, 1, 2, 3, then go into that same stitch and make yet another double crochet to complete the open shell stitch. And that's what your project should look like so far. That's what the pattern is for this row. And after that, you're pretty much going to be repeating the same pattern over and over again, but I'll go ahead and go over it with you one more time. So I'm going to finish this row, and then I'll show you the next row, and then from there, it's pretty much just going to be repetition. So from here, you're going to head over to your shell stitch, and you're going to create 3 consecutive double crochets. So 1, 2, and 3 double crochets on top of that shell stitch that you made in the previous row. And then from here you're going to chain 1, go to that lone double crochet, and then you're going to make an open shell stitch on top of it. So it's going to be 1 double crochet, then 3 chains, then another double crochet inside of the same exact stitch. Voila! And then from here you're going to chain 1, head over to your shell stitch from the previous row, and then make 3 consecutive double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Then from here you're going to chain 1, head on over to the lone double crochet, make an open shell stitch, so on and so forth until you reach the end of the row. And then once you reach the end of the row, I'll show you what to do, so I will meet you there. So I reached the end of the row and this is what it looks like. So from here I'm going to, I already chained 1, and I'm going to go into this lone double crochet, and I'm going to make an open shell stitch. So 1, 2, 3 chains, and then another double crochet inside of that same stitch. And from here I'm actually going to go back into this past stitch just because I want it to be nice and straight, and I'm going to make a triple crochet right here. Now you do not have to do this, but I just didn't want it to end off with this because then I think that it would have flared out, and I want my edges to be straight. So I added a triple crochet just so that it could be straight, but again, you don't have to do that, especially if you just got confused right now. Just ignore that I did that. But yeah, that's what I did. And then from here I'm going to chain 3, 2, 3. Then I'm actually going to go into that open shell stitch and create my 7 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, 6, and 7. So that's what the project should look like so far. And then from here, of course, you're going to chain 1, then go into the middle of these 3 double crochets and make that 1 lone double crochet, chain 1, go into that open shell stitch from the previous row and crochet 7 double crochets inside of that opening. So yeah, it's pretty much just a repeat of the past 2 patterns from here on end. You're just going to continue doing this pattern until you're happy with the length of the bottom portion of your top. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So from here, chain 1, head on over to those 3 consecutive double crochets, and then create 1 double crochet on top of that. Then from here, you're going to chain 1, then head over to the open shell stitch, and then create your 7 double crochets inside of that opening. And yeah, again, just continue with that pattern until you reach the very end, and then once you do, then you just repeat the pattern that we did beforehand on this row. So every time you reach the top of the shell, you're going to make 3 consecutive double crochets, then chain 1, and then every time you reach the lone double crochet, you're going to make an open shell stitch, chain 1, and then you're going to be on top of a shell stitch. So then you're going to make 3 consecutive double crochets, and then so on and so forth until you are again happy with the length of the top. So this is what the project looks like so far. If I wanted it to be a bikini top, I'd pretty much be done, but since I want it to be more of a crop top, I'm probably going to triple the length here. So 1, 2, 3. So it could be right at my belly button. If you want it to be a full top, then you could just keep going until it reaches your hips. If you want it to be a dress, you could just keep going until it reaches your knees. Totally up to you. Length is absolutely up to you. It just depends on how many rows you want to create. So again, from here, it's just a repeat of the 2 patterns that I've been showing you. So again, from here, I'm in an open shell stitch. So I'm going to create my 7 double crochets and repeat the pattern over and over again until I am happy with the length. Okay, so as I said, I just continued with the pattern, repeating it over and over again until I had reached the point where I put the project against myself and I was happy with the length of the top. So this is what the project looks like after a few more rows of that same pattern over and over again. You can see the shell design at the bottom here. And this is where I left off. I actually left off on this side. So from here, again, you can either detach the yarn from the yarn ball and then reattach it to the top and just make the straps from there, or you could do what I'm doing, and I'm actually just going to single crochet my way along the top right here to the cup, and then that's where I'm going to make the details around the cups. And once I reach this point, I'm also going to be making the straps, not only the neck straps, but the back straps as well. So this is going to be just one really long strap that I'm going to then wrap towards the bottom here. So again, from here, you can either detach the yarn from the yarn ball and then do all that separately, or you could do what I'm doing. So I'm just going to show you what I'm going to do. So from here, the bottom of the top, I'm just going to create a row of single crochet all along the bottom here. And again, there are not going to be any specific stitches you can go into for this. So I'm just going to go into wherever I can and create some single crochets where I see fit. And I like doing this also because it kind of gives the edges a nice clean look with this extra row of single crochet that I otherwise wouldn't have done if I cut the yarn from the yarn ball and then reattached it to where I need to. But yeah, so just look at the difference between this and then, well, let me show you the other side. This, you know, I mean, this isn't bad, but this is nicer, right? So again, from here, I'm just crocheting my way up the pattern that we just created until I get to the edge here. And then from here, I'm just going to chain 1 and then kind of like pivot this way. So instead of crocheting up, I'm not going to crochet this way. So I'm going to head on over to my left and crochet my way towards the cup with a single crochet. So now I am at the cup and I'm going to start making the little design. So from here, I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Then I'm going to skip a stitch and then go into the next one. And I'm going to create 3 double crochets inside of that one stitch. So 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, and 3 double crochet. And then from here, I'm going to chain 1, skip 3 stitches, then go into that 4th stitch and create 3 double crochets inside of that one stitch. So 1, 2, and 3. Then I'm going to chain 1, skip 3 stitches, go into that 4th stitch, and create 3 double crochets inside of that one stitch, and 3. And then I'm going to chain 1, skip 3 stitches, then go into that 4th stitch, and then create 3 double crochets inside of that one stitch. And you're just going to repeat that pattern until you get to the point of the top, or rather the cup, and then that's when we're going to make the strap. So I'm just going to do this with you in real time so I don't cut it and then it feels like I'm jumping around and stuff. So that's 1 double crochet inside of one stitch, and then I'm going to make 2 more inside of that same stitch. Then I'm going to chain 1, skip 3 stitches, go into that 4th stitch, and then create those 3 double crochets, and then can't really skip those 3 stitches and then create the double crochet up here. So I'm just going to chain 1, then go into the point of the cup, create a double crochet, and then from here, I'm just going to make my chain. So this is what the side of the cup looks like. So we've reached this point right here, the V point of the cup, and I'm going to create my chain. Now again, this is going to be a very long chain because it's going to serve as both the neck strap and the back strap. So I make 150 chains, but of course I figured that out through trial and error, which I recommend that you do. You can start at 150 chains, and then if that's too short for you, then you can make more. If it's too long for you, then you could just unravel it a bit. But yeah, I am making 150 chains and that's what works for me. But again, everybody is different, so you may need to either crochet more or crochet less. But yeah, after I chain my 150 chains, I will get back to you. So now that I have made my 150 chains, I'm going to go back on it with a slip stitch. So a slip stitch, which I don't think I mentioned what slip stitch was earlier, but I used it already a couple of times, but sorry about that. A slip stitch is basically going through the stitch, then yarning over, then going back through the stitch, and then through the last loop that's left on your hook. It's like the most simple stitch possible, I think. So yeah, through the stitch, yarn over, back through the stitch, and then through the one loop that is on your hook. And the reason I do this is, one, because I do not want to cut the yarn from the yarn ball, and then also I just like making the strap a little bit thicker, not only for support but for comfort as well, because when the strap is just the chain, it kind of digs into your skin, I guess because it's really thin, and it hurts. But if there's at least one layer of slip stitch on it, it makes it a little bit better. And I feel like a single crochet would be a little bit too thick, so that's why I go with a slip stitch. But yeah, I'm going to slip stitch all along the chain I just created until I get to the bottom again, which will be right at the top right here of the cup. And then I'm going to continue with the pattern of this design right here, where I'm making 3 double crochets in 1 stitch, then skipping 3, and then making 3 double crochets in 1 stitch. Go all along the bottom of the cup here, then all along the top of this cup, and I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. And then after that, we're completely done with the crocheting portion of the project, and now we would just need to lace it up. But let me go ahead and finish this strap and then show you the rest. So I have slip stitched all the way down the strap, and I'm now back at the top of the cup. So from here I'm just going to continue on with the pattern. So I'm actually going to chain 1 and then go into this stitch right here towards the bottom, or heading towards the bottom of the cup, and I'm going to create my 3 double crochets inside of that 1 stitch. And then just continue on with the pattern. So from here I'm going to chain 1, skip 3 stitches, go into that 4th stitch, and then create 3 double crochets inside of that 1 stitch. So 2 and 3, and then from here I'm going to chain 1, skip 3 stitches, and then go into that 4th stitch, and then create 3 double crochets inside of that 1 stitch. And this is what the project should look like. So just like that. And yeah, you're just going to continue with that pattern until you get to the bottom of the cup here, and then you're going to repeat it all over again for the 2nd cup. And then after I do that, I'm just going to single crochet my way across here, down here, and end the project right here. So yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And then after that, I will be completely done crocheting the top, and then I'll show you how to lace up the back, and then we'll be done. So I will see you then. Just continue with this pattern. And just like that, so we are completely done crocheting this top, and this is what it looks like. So again, I went ahead and continued with the pattern down here and across. Then I created another chain of 150, went back on it with a slip stitch, then came down and repeated the same pattern all down this side of the cup. And then I single crocheted my way this way and down, and this is where I ended. So from here, I'm going to finalize this top by cutting the yarn from the yarn ball, and then grabbing the excess yarn through the last loop, giving it a tug, and then I like to also just tuck it in just for extra security so it does not unravel on its own. So with that being nice and secure, you're completely done with the top, at least crocheting it. And now we just need to lace up the straps. So decide which side is going to be your inside and which side is going to be your outside. So let's see. I'm trying to decide which side looks better. I think I like the way that this side looks. So this is going to be my front, and then this is going to be the inside of the top. So I'm going to flip it so that the inside of the top is going to be facing me. And then I'm also going to zoom out this camera so you can see better. And then I'm going to grab one strap, bring it on over to the opposite side, and then attach it to the top portion of the bottom portion of the top. So there's going to be the top, the middle, and then the bottom of this portion of the top. So I'm going to bring it on through with my hook, and then bring the rest of the strap through with my hands. So after I do that, I'm going to grab the same strap and then reach on over to the opposite side again and attach it to the middle portion of the bottom portion of the top. So I'm going to attach it the same way, like that. So this is attached to the top, this one is attached to the middle, and then I'm going to grab the same strap one last time and then attach it to this bottom portion right here in the exact same way. So it should look like this, and then I'm going to go ahead and grab the other strap and do the exact same thing but just on the opposite side. So I'm going to grab it, reach on it over to the opposite side, attach it to the top portion of this portion of the top, and then grab it, then bring it on over to the middle portion of the bottom portion of the top. And then I'm going to grab it one last time and then attach it to the bottom portion of the top on the opposite side. So just bring it on through with my hook. And then after I've done that, I'm completely done lacing up the top. And this is what it should look like from the back. So then you could just kind of pretty it up, tie it up in the back as well. So now you kind of have a corset style, adjustable corset style in the back. And this is what the entire top looks like. And with that, you are completely done crocheting this boho crop top. I hope you enjoyed this video, found it helpful, and if you did, please give it a big thumbs up before you go. And also visit the rest of my channel because I have a ton of other crochet tutorials on there, ranging from beginner friendly to a little bit more advanced and everything in between. And if you are, again, a beginner, if this video was too fast for you, I do have more beginner friendly videos in the description box below that you could check out first and then come back to this one once you've mastered those or gotten used to my teaching style, because I know it is different than pretty much anyone else's because I did not learn how to crochet the conventional way. I literally sat in a room when I was 9 years old and I taught myself how to crochet, so I have a very unique way of crocheting and teaching others how to crochet, and it doesn't work for everyone, and that's okay. But if you do want to follow my tutorials, and this one's a little bit too difficult for you, again, I do have slower, more detailed, more beginner friendly ones in the description box below. And with that, thank you again so much for watching. I hope you enjoy your new crochet top. Don't forget to click that red subscribe button if you have not already so I can see you next time. Bye! And have a magical day.
These days, under the sun together. These days, let's make them last forever. These days, let's hope they last forever.